All right, ladies and gentlemen, we just did the anatomy podcast session with Bryce and Alex Sevigny for Divine Destruction, the project that Bryce and Alex are working on together. Alex providing the instrumentals, Bryce the vocals. So now we are going to go ahead and dive into an under the skin session for My Suffering. This is the latest full or latest offering, to say the least, from Divine Destruction. This is an EP that has The Witch and plenty of other tracks on it. It's actually a really, really good EP. I've been listening to so much music, but I had the chance to listen to it recently, yesterday, actually. So I'm actually pretty excited to be diving into learning about what's under the skin of My Suffering. So, to say the least, getting started off, this is an EP, and let's see, we'll go ahead and check out the stream numbers and stuff like that, because I think that's one of the most important things. It's also really cool to hear about. The Witch currently having 45,970 streams. Interloper 9,414. If It Wasn't For Me 4,581. And that's speaking for the top songs. There's also I Am Divine, I Am Destruction. That is not on the My Suffering EP. That is on another EP that we can probably do at another time. And then there's also Pale Horse, which is one of my favorites at 12,900. But My Suffering, having My Suffering is the intro track, The Witch is the second, Interloper featuring Tom Barber, Last Favor, and If It Wasn't For Me as the fifth track on that EP. This was released last year. Really like the way that this EP was done, whether the simplicity in the album cover itself or the logo. I really like the horizontal logo that you guys got cooked up, and just the overall vibe of this EP. So getting started off, we have My Suffering, track 1. What do we got going on with this track?
It is about one of my biggest fears. It's about religion.
Ooh.
So, religion, in my book, is bad nor good.
Right.
Well, it's not bad, it's not good, but it can be good and it can be bad. It's how you do it.
Yeah.
And one of my biggest fears is what if I'm wrong in what I'm believing? And what's even worse for that for me, what trumps that is what if I'm right and there's nothing there?
Yeah.
For some reason, knowing that there's possibly nothing there is more scarier to me than going to hell.
Yeah.
At least if I know there's a heaven, there's a hell, it's I got a 50-50 shot. And
Right.
with this, it's because some days I believe in God, some days I don't. I'm this guy's an asshole. There's no way that there's a God.
Yeah.
But then I'll be sitting there, having kind of an existential crisis moment, just sitting there thinking, laying down by myself, and I'm I don't know what the world looks like through my wife's eyes. I don't know what the world looks like through your eyes. I don't know what you I don't know if you're a real person. I don't know if she's a real person. I'm sitting here. It's kind of everything's a simulation.
Yeah.
Kind of what was that? The Truman Show.
Sometimes the Truman Show.
Sometimes I feel like I'm in that. I'm just kind of looking around
none of these people are real.
Whether they're I don't know. These people are real, but I don't know if do they know me? It's kind of like a paranoid thing. I don't know. It's just the overall view of the world itself and what comes after.
Exactly. And I'm looking at it right now. This is obviously a Wikipedia article, so who knows if this is actually credible, but there is a word that kind of is close to what you're describing. It's called a scrupulosity. And this is a characterization of a pathological guilt or anxiety about moral or religious issues, It's more commonly known as religious anxiety. So, I mean, therefore, going kind of more into it, speaking on like the religious part of what you were saying, in that you don't know if you're right about the afterlife and you don't think there is a God and possibly there isn't, or if you're wrong. And according to script, like Christian ideologies, if you don't believe in God, you're going to hell and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. But like, how can you believe in a God sometimes if there's all this wrong going in the world and there's not enough right going in the world? But yet again, if there was a whole bunch of right going on in the world, people are like, but that's a fallacy.
Yeah.
There's no way that people are that good. And I think that's kind of the reason that the world is the way it is right now. But let's see. That's interesting. I guess there's the fear of other religions, and that's, let's see, lesiophobia, fear of churches. That's I
Every
mean, yeah.
metalhead.
Right, every metalhead ever. That's why people burned them down back in the day. Let's see, scrupulosity, scrupulosity, yeah, diligent. Oh, interesting. Let's see. A psychological disorder primarily characterized by pathological guilt or obsession associated with moral or religious issues that is often accompanied by compulsive moral or religious observance and is highly distressing and maladaptive. That's a lot. That's a lot for my tiny brain to process. But to say the least, that is a very interesting start to My Suffering, the EP. And being that it is the title track for the EP, is this issue kind of prevalent throughout the rest of the EP as far as the lyrical content, or is it kind of just like this is the main issue, but there was also these other things I wanted to talk about?
Kind of like that. Like that's like the main issue that like I like, I guess I go through every day.
Yeah.
It's just like, going through life and waking
Yeah.
up. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, exactly. I'm exactly that same way. And it's very strange because a lot more people these days, it feels, maybe because of technology, who knows? Maybe it's because of just ideological awakening and maturing and just kind of growing into all these various mindsets. It just, I know a lot more people than not feel that same exact way. And it just dawns to me like, how did that start? Like, what
Exactly.
started that? But to say the least, migrating into track 2, we have The Witch. And I have to highlight the fact that instead of using a capital W, you used 2 capital V's. Have you seen The Witch then?
No.
No. Okay. Because that is a damn good movie. And a part of me was like, does this have any relevance to the movie? Because that would be actually really cool.
And
So,
what's even funnier is that like when I released that song, or when Divine Destruction released that song,
Mhm.
there's another. I was living in Florida at the time, and there's another band and from Central to around Central Florida, around
yeah,
Orlando, Tampa area, that also had a song called "The Vivitch," the witch with
yeah,
spelled with two V's, and like they were like the vocalist was like, "Oh, copy my homework." Where's that? Copy my homework, but don't make it obvious.
yeah, yeah.
And you're like, bro. First of all, I love your song. Totally was not in the mind when I was, writing this and like, came up with the title.
Right,
No idea. And your song is about something else that involves a witch. My song is about this that involves a witch.
right. Okay.
And there's also a movie called The Witch, spelled the same way. So
Yeah.
technically,
So,
you need to drop someone else first.
yeah, exactly. So in that case, kind of diving into the song, what do we got going on? Obviously, there's a witch, and it's spelled a little bit differently for the sake of aesthetic. But what's going on with this track?
So basically, it's about someone who, a lot of the songs that I write are about like, I kind of like want to put enough information in there to where, I understand what I'm saying, but I also want it to be for interpretation at the same time.
Yes. Okay.
So like to me, that song when I was writing it was about someone who was, very, very down and like, depressed and like, sad as fuck and would do anything to be happy. And, basically finds a witch and, she's like, making all these promises. And you're like, yeah, I don't know. And then like, when you're about to make the decision, you hear her little victims, from like throughout time, like, like
Yeah.
just screaming, and you're like, fuck it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like you just get sucked into it and then you just lost your soul to a witch.
Yeah. Yeah. So like in a desperate situation of a lot of people just feeling kind of numb most of the time, just looking for an outing for that, even if it's considerably dangerous. Because who
Yeah.
doesn't like a little adventure in their life? So one of those examples would be resorting to a witch, getting in contact with her, and overall just I don't even know, just making that decision in the moment and seeing where it goes. And that's a very important lesson to learn in life is that you got to really use your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, you got to walk away from that. But
Yeah. But sometimes you gotta take that leap, you're like,
exactly.
but
Sometimes you got
then
to take that leap.
the misses that you don't take will always be a miss. Like the shots you don't take will always be a miss or some shit like that.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. The opportunities you don't take, the shots you don't take, you'll always miss. Exactly. And I like the mentality and approach on that without a doubt. And that's obviously that's a very important thing to talk about. It's very important to put into music and obviously heavy music. So it's like, okay, you got heavy music, but it's also just really, really good standing messages. So therefore, we have track 3, which is Interloper. Featuring none other than the man himself of Lorna Shore, of Darko, of Chelsea Grin. We got Tom Barber. But obviously, the feature only is a little part of the whole song, as massive as he is. So I would ask first, what was the mindset behind writing this song? What do we got going on with this song?
So I actually bounced that idea back out with Alex. He gave me the song title. Well, he gave me the song, and I'm sitting here like listening to it, and it sounds pretty different than all the other stuff that we've been producing out. Writing the EP at that time.
Yeah.
I was like, Alex, what do you want to call this song? And he goes, Interloper.
Okay.
Well, okay, we'll go with that. I'll sit here and try to see if I can work something out with that. And then I made it work because when I was sitting here brainstorming ideas, just like writing stuff down, I was like, this song is going to be about sleep paralysis.
Ooh.
And that's exactly what that song's about.
Okay.
I remember when we released the song, a lot of people were like shitting on the lyrics, which was pretty funny. But then you see other people going, bro, this is like about sleep paralysis. This is accurate as fuck. And that's like something I still suffer from to this day.
Oh yeah.
And it's bad. Like I can't even sleep on my back or I'll get it. Like I
Yeah.
gotta sleep on my stomach or like curl up and like grab something because I can't sleep
Yeah.
on my back, or I'll just like wake up and like I'm paralyzed and like there's just something standing over me. It's gotten to the point where I just kind of like look at it and I'm like, hi again. Not
Hello,
scared
darkness,
anymore.
my old friend.
I'm just more annoyed.
Yeah. And I've experienced sleep paralysis before as well. So I understand how that is. The last time I had that, like hot digits, all 5 of them just around my neck, and I could feel the individual fingers. And I was like, what's going on? But worst of all, it was in daylight and I was like right next to a buddy of mine. And I thought I was screaming out his name.
That's the worst. That's happened to me before.
And, like I was right next to him. I was screaming out his name in my sleep. But in real life, I'm like, hey. And I snapped awake in a cold sweat. And he's like, dude, you okay? I'm like, dude, I was trying to scream. I'm screaming at you. He's like, dude, you were quiet the whole time. I'm like, nope, I hate that. And I went home. I immediately went home. I felt like I was drunk or something. Or
I
just
remember when I used to lay carpet and tile like a long time ago, and I was in the front seat of the box truck with all the stuff in the back.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here, we're working like, you know, an hour and a half. We gotta wake up at 5 a.m. And I'm like, I'm gonna fucking sleep if I don't have to stay awake.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here asleep in the front seat, and next thing you know, like I can't breathe, I can't move, and I'm sitting here like I start like raising my arms, and I'm like trying to reach out to him and get his attention, and I like kind of like peer over, and he's just staring at me.
Huh?
What's he doing? And I'm like, and I just wake up, and I'm like, bro, I tried reaching out for you, I couldn't breathe, I don't know what the fuck was going on. He was like, bro, you want to crack? I'm like, shit, at this point, I wish, because I think I would have probably enjoyed that a little bit more than fucking dying next to you. You just sitting there staring at me.
Right. Well, in that case, so this song is about sleep paralysis and your experiences with that, which is like, I'm right there with you on that. It sucks. And not only have I experienced sleep paralysis, but I've also had like Freddy Krueger ass experiences in my dreams, and like these were actual entities that I was dealing with friends of mine. So that was fun. I don't know if
I'm sorry, continue.
No, I was about to say I don't know if you've had experiences like that yet, but
So I remember when I first started going through sleep paralysis, it was you know, really, really bad. I would just wake up, you know, middle of the night, you know, my bed would face basically the door. There's like a bed on the opposite side of the door facing this way. There was a TV, there was a door right here on this side, and I would sit there and like I'd fall asleep on my back and my head would be like kind of propped up, and like I'd wake up, but I wasn't up, you know, the whole sleep paralysis thing begins. I'm paralyzed, I can't move. I'm sitting here, I'm looking at my door, and there's like the best way I would describe it is like someone in a black morph suit like comes walking out and like peering to the side of the door. And then I'm like freaking out, about pissed to bed. And that happened for like 2 weeks straight. I remember this one time it was I just did like a load of laundry, and I got it was my bedding. I threw the sheet on, but my blanket was still like folded and it was like all warm, and I like threw it on me, and I was like, oh, this is nice. And it was middle of the day, and I wake up, and again I'm paralyzed. This was like probably like the scariest moment, but at the same time, like I knew what was kind of going on. Like I knew like whatever this thing was, it can't hurt me. You know, it's just gonna sit there and like whatever, and I'll wake up. And when I tell people this, they laugh. But I'm like, if you were me in that spot, you would be like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
But like the best way to describe it is I'm sitting here laying down, and I felt like pressure from my stomach moving up, like someone was crawling on me. Yeah. And the best way I would describe, because like I got a good look, or what I think would be a good look at whatever I was hallucinating, was kind of like Venom. Yeah. Like the Marvel character Venom, like on my chest, just looking at me, and like, you know, big teeth and like no eyes, and like all black, and just like a fucking tongue just hanging down, just looking at me. And I'm like, okay, I'll wake up any moment now.
Right.
And then I woke up, and it was actually my cat. And I was like, bro.
Worst time.
Like,
worst time.
And then I just started sleeping on my stomach, and then I was like, oh, this works. And then I watched a Netflix documentary called The Nightmare. And that is the scariest documentary I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
When I watched it, it was about sleep paralysis. And it had the same shadow figures that I was seeing. Like I've seen the guy in the trench coat with the top hat on, like the fedora or whatever. And I'm like sitting here watching it. And I think I was watching it with my wife when we were just dating at the time, and she was like, what? I'm like, this is scary as fuck. I've seen that. And I don't know those people. They don't know me. And they're saying they've seen that guy right there. Yeah. But that's just some crazy phenomenon that's just insane to me.
Right. Yeah, I think sorry. Don't know what's going on with the mic, but let's see. Maybe that'll help. But yeah, I think the worst experience I've had, and I've kind of mentioned this to a lot of people. So for those who know, and for those who are watching and listening right now, like I've already told you this story, but me and my best friend shared a dream where an entity murdered me, threw me over a balcony, looked back at me. I snapped awake in a cold sweat, my mom had my buddy's mom on the phone. Buddy's mom handed him the phone. I was on the phone, and he was like basically recounting to me what happened in the dream just then, because it was me and him, but we were different people. We were Zach Bagans and Aaron Goodwin from the Ghost Adventures crew. And to say the least, he watched me get thrown over a balcony. I felt myself just splat, which was very, very, just very, very surreal. There you go. And this thing looked back at me. It darted away like Schmeagol because it was like a little goblin or whatever. And it changed forms multiple times in the dream, which was very strange. But he threw me over a balcony. I snapped awake in a cold sweat. And next thing you know, yeah, we were talking about it on the phone. And I don't think I've ever had an experience like that again. And I don't think I've known anybody who has shared a dream with their best friend who is also only 15 minutes older than them. Like,
That's like
enough
some
said.
astral projection shit.
Exactly. It was really, really weird. And strangest thing of all, we were like, it was a Ghost Adventures investigation, just, trying to find out about ghosts. And we were in what I think was a prison, but it also had a pool somewhere because, it was like that nice, relaxing sensation of getting out of the pool, just like, and just drying off, getting ready to do whatever. And then everything happened the way it did, and I snapped awake, and we were just talking about that for a long time. But it was because one of our friends was messing with a Ouija board maybe a couple weeks before that, and I had also gone to church before having this dream, so I wanted to leave church that night, and I'm like, something doesn't feel right. I really want to go home, go to bed. And I remember, dude, there was like a 6-foot shadow just right next to my bed, and I could feel it. I turned around, I'm like, oh shit, put on the covers, and then had the dream. I'm like, okay, no more church, but also no Satan, please. Like, it was
And that's
different.
like that shit right there that makes me like, is all this real?
Exactly. But I'll tell you what, at that moment, I was like, if the enemies of God that I've heard about exist, then his allies must exist. And therefore, if they exist, that means that God and the devil exist at the very least. And now I'm definitely more of a spiritual person, but I treat religion like sports teams. So I'm like, go Vikings, go Anton LaVey, and that's about it. I'm like, fuck the Christians, like fuck the Catholics, fuck the Mormons, that type of thing. Just because of all the genocide, rape, pillage, and blunder that they've done over the years, whether it be
Using their
crusades.
name for a false flag.
Exactly, man. Like, I'm just not with it. But I mean, I have multiple friends I've known for years who are religiously like that. So it's not like I've shunned them out of my life, but it's like, I really wish you weren't a part of that, because half of the people at the top in those religions are actual rapists or child traffickers. But definitely wanted to ask about the decision. Obviously, I have a feeling I know the answer already, having to do with Lorna Shore. But what was the decision on having Tom Barber feature on the track for Interloper? And like, lyrically, did you handle that, or did he bring stuff to the table? Like, how did that feature end up getting established?
So like, I've looked up to Tom Barber for a long time, and I know that he likes my vocals, at least because I remember I've seen them live like 10 times with Tom Barber in it.
Yeah.
And they were playing in a very, very small venue, and I was right there on stage. And I think the song is "Denounce the Light."
Okay. Yeah.
Some shit like that. And he right when that breakdown, like music stops and it comes back really, really heavy, and he like, goes really low, and he's like, "I denounce the light," or some shit like that. Right when he did that, I fucking kind of like grabbed his hand and like took the mic from him almost, and he's just sitting there staring at me, and he's like, "Oh," in here, and like, I do it, and I'm like wiping his saliva off my lips because like he was like, had his hand and everything, and he just sat there and like did the whole like roast face and shit. And I was like, that's like the biggest compliment you can give a vocalist or like any like heavy metal musician, is just the stink face.
The stink face, yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, dude, I want this guy on a track. I want this guy in a song. And then this is when he was in Lorna Shore. He cost like what, $500 at that time, but like it was
Yeah.
bouncing in between bands for me, so like I couldn't really do anything for it.
Yeah.
And then he joined Chelsea Grin, and I was like, well, this fucking sucks. So I just kept on going all my life, and then one day I was sitting here because we try to.
Oh, there's a pupper in the back. Hello.
His name is Atlas.
Oh, that's such a fitting name. Hello.
He's a great Pyrenees and a great pain in my ass. And then I ended up like just tweeting at him on Twitter. I was like, "Hey Tom, hop on a song with me." And he was like, and he replied and said, "PM me or DM me."
Right.
Like, shit. And then he gave me the price, and I was like,
Yeah.
"That's Chelsea Grin's price, huh?" Yeah, made it work, and I wrote his part.
Okay.
And yeah, like I felt like as soon as he sent me back his raw vocals, because he sent them to me, and I'm sitting here listening to it, and I'm like, dude, this guy's a monster. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you like, you listen to like any of like my vocals like on its own, but like I kind of like have this rattle sound.
Yeah.
To my lows that I shaped around his. Like I would sit there and be with my friends, like my old band, and be like, do his little like weird, because it's like almost like a treble sound.
Yeah. I think
And
his main scream, right?
yeah, like his lows, like when he was in Lorna Shore, or
Yeah.
even Darko, because he's doing a lot more lows in Darko.
Right.
But like how like he has his mouth open, like kind of wide, but it sounds like his throat is like doing that, and it sounds like gravel. I would sit there and be like very quiet. I'm like, oh, I can do it.
Yeah.
I started working on it, and like I started getting louder, more like with my own take on it, and that's how I got my lows at least. But he's just, I look up to that dude, man. I look up to that like vocally, because like that dude he's insane to me.
Yeah.
I've seen him 5-10 times, and each time it was just like
even better and better.
And the crazy thing is that dude was stoned off his ass every single show. And like he was just still like ripping it, and I'm like, bro, this guy's
shit. No, massive respect to Tom Barber, because I mean, after all, Devin Duarte, hands down, he cannot deny this. And this
he sounds just like him.
Yeah, he sounds just like him. And I'm like, how the fuck do you do that? But then I kind of figured it out. So like I'm definitely learning how to do that. And I'm also learning how to do the more screamy, I don't even know what to call it, but like the more hoarse high scream that Darius from Spite does. I learned how to do that yesterday without even realizing it. Yeah. So I'm definitely going to be unleashing that upon a couple covers and upon a couple Blind Without Our Failures tracks in the future. But definitely wanted to ask for Interloper, as we kind of full circle back to that. Is Tom Barber by chance is he playing the Sleep Paralysis Demon?
No, just like, same perspective as me, because he goes face to face with my nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so he's like, from my perspective as well, talking about what the fuck that is. Like in the corner of the room, getting closer, and I can't move.
Right.
Like, it's just same perspective as me.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fine. Just definitely curious about that, because that's definitely a question that people would ask you in the comment section, just like, oh, is he supposed to be the demon or something? But moving on to the fourth track out of 5 tracks.
Tom Barber was my sleep paralysis demon.
Dude, imagine how Darko music video your fucking sleep paralysis experiences would be if Tom Barber was your sleep paralysis demon. Like, it would look like Acid Inject if you remember, if you've seen that one recently.
I don't think I've seen that video.
There's also Mars Attacks, which is basically the first version of it.
Yeah, I have to check it out, their newer stuff, because I haven't followed too much heavy music lately, honestly.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, basically, think of it like the Blair Witch Project or any of those kind of video, like home video done horror movies and stuff. That's what it looks like, and it's super cool. So as we move on in the My Suffering EP, which it's it's been really awesome learning about all of these stories and all of the context behind these songs. We have Last Favor. What's going on with this one, man?
So, Last Favor is about what I have witnessed working as I used to work in Florida's Department of Corrections. I was a correctional officer or a prison guard, as a lot of people would say.
Okay.
And
That's actually pretty crazy.
I worked in confinement for a long time. So I've seen like what people by themselves that are mentally unstable will do to themselves with like pieces of plastic, or like I know that if you take like a regular like AA or AAA battery and put it on concrete and just keep rubbing it, it'll eventually flatten down to a blade.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And let me tell you, there are some motherfuckers in there that will threaten to cut, and you're like, no, you won't, dude, because you're telling me, you know.
Yeah.
I've seen it so much that you gotta show me something that make me work.
Right.
You know? Obviously, I'm gonna go in there and search you now, but like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna do it, you know, well, this is when, as morbid as that sounds, like it's just that's the environment, you know. It's just your word is your greatest tool. You know? Like if you tell me you're gonna do something, you know, do it or don't, you know, don't say it, you know. I know you're just trying to play the system and make me do something to go out of my way.
Yeah.
And
Attention.
put myself in a position, and then you could like attack me. So
Yeah.
like I'm not playing that game with you. But like right at the beginning, I first started in a regular dorm, and then I went to food service, and then after food service would end, like feeding the compound lunch and dinner, I would go and just like wander the yard and just like be there if someone needs me, because like, you know, I wasn't assigned to like a specific area.
Right. Okay.
Food service, I would just kind of like roam and like kill time and, you know, talk to people.
Yeah.
And eventually I went to confinement because there was a guy on the compound in a regular dorm saying he was going to kill himself.
Okay.
So like we were like, okay, you know, the mental health has deemed him dangerous for himself and for others around him. So we're going to take him to confinement and put him in a SHA cell, and that's self-harm observation status. So we took him in there, and there's a clipboard, and there's already like 3 of the cells filled with there's 4 cells, and there's 3 other cells filled with these other inmates.
Yes.
And we put a turtle suit on him. He has a mat, you know, he's just sitting in there. The dude's perfectly compliant, you know. He's like, yeah, I'm just, you know, I'm depressed, you know, I'm in prison, you know, my wife, she pretty sure she's cheating on me, and you know, I'm in here, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel you, man. Like, I don't know what I'd do in this position. You know, I'd probably be in the same spot as you. I'd be like, I think I'm gonna, you know, off myself because there's nothing, you know. So being sympathetic towards this guy, we handcuff him when he's in the cell. We shut the door. He puts his hand at the flap. We take the handcuffs off, lock the flap, and then the sergeant that took him from the compound to confinement with me was like, well, since these guys you got to sign a clipboard on every door, the mark that you've been to this door every 15 minutes. There's a camera watching you, so you have to like go out there every 15 minutes to prove that you were out there, because these guys usually go out there every 30 minutes, but these guys are different. They're special, you know.
Yeah.
They're threatening to actively harm themselves. So he's sitting there, he's signing the papers. He goes to the last cell, you know, to sign for them. By the way, working 12-hour shifts, and you got to walk out there every 15 minutes.
Yeah, Jesus.
Around like 7 hours in, you're like, God damn.
Right.
Like, he goes to the last one, he signs the paper, looks back at the paper, and looks back in the cell, and he goes, oh, that don't look good.
Oh shit.
So me being like a new officer, you know, I'm like, you know, excited to see, like, you know, I've heard crazy stories.
Yeah.
I look in there and I'm like, oh fuck, that don't look good. This dude in a 7 by 8 foot cell covered the entire cell. I'm 5'8", and the blood was above me, so like 2 feet.
Yeah.
So in all four walls, including on the door,
Yeah.
and there was like that thick of blood on the floor, like about inch and a half thick, and it was just covered in blood, completely covered, like lathered. And we were like, oh, yep, I think this guy's dead. So we called it in. We had the captain of the shift come in. We had other people, they put us in blue gowns.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing what's called a cell breach, which where we open the cell door, we run in there with a shield, because in my experiences, for some reason, when you go to prison, you become immortal. You can do that to yourself and just spring up and you're ready to go.
Shit.
I don't know what. I don't know. So we have a shield, and they placed it on him, and like the shield has a convex to it, like a concave. So like we put it on him, and they were like, Schedlbauer, me, handcuff him. And I look down, and I'm looking at him. I'm stepping in all this blood and shit, And by the way, if you want to know what it feels like to step in blood, imagine stepping in melted Jolly Ranchers. It's the best way. It's like sticky and tacky. You're like,
oh, Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here. I'm like, inmate, put your hands behind your back. Just something that he can respond to. Just want to see if he like moves or like if he's still alive. And he just groans, and he's laying face down like this.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, this guy's still alive, and he's actually hurt. So let me dig in there and grab his arms and pull him out. Well, on both arms, from like my tattoo, like from the matchstick, all the way down.
Oh, Jesus.
It was completely filleted open. Like my fingers went inside of his like forearm.
Yeah.
Like I was able to like reach in and like, I did this on accident. I grabbed all his tendons and muscles and bones with one, like half my hand was inside of his arm.
Ah, Jesus.
I put it behind his back, and I was like, oh, that's bad. I had to handcuff him. I put one handcuff on him, went into the other one thinking he didn't do it. I did the exact same thing to the other side because I didn't think he did it to both arms.
God.
And I was like,
That's awful.
And he survived.
What the fuck, dude?
He survived. That's what I'm saying. Like for some reason, like inmates are like the biggest joke, like biggest inside joke in where I was watching that is they're like cockroaches. Like they just don't die. Like you can nuke them, you can step on them, they'll still like run around, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But yeah, after seeing that, it was kind of funny, kind of not funny, but like funny in hindsight, because I was sitting here going, they just carried him off because they put him on a stretcher, took him to outside hospital, and he got his life saved. So I'm sitting here, just got to take all the stuff off. I'm sitting here looking at the whole, like, it looks like a straight murder scene, shit you see out of movies, but like worse because it's real.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna write a song about this. And I did, and that's the last favor is from what I've learned how inmates think when they're more people, like in that position, depressed, and are willing to go that extra mile to like actually like kill themselves.
Right. Yeah.
So
and the last favor would be the lesson that you learned in that situation. It's just like how far people are willing to go. Oh
yeah, like because you have people that would be like, oh, I want to kill myself. I'm gonna kill myself, and you're like, because in my experience, like I said, like I'm like when ones say that they're gonna do it, you kind of like,
you can call it a bluff. They do it to kind of get your attention.
And then like sometimes like I guess like they'll like take their nail and like break skin and like show you like a little like cut that kind of like looks like, well, if you can see on my forearm, I got cut by a cat. But like it looks like a little like scratch, and he's like, I'm killing myself, and you're like, I just saw this guy cover the whole cell in blood. I think he'll live. And you're like, the guy's like, what? And he won't do anything. But the guys who won't say it, who you just stumble upon, and you're like, man, this guy's legit, and you gotta like save his life.
That's rough.
But that's what basically the last favor is. And actually, hopefully in the future, I don't know, I'm thinking about writing getting another project going on that's basically about what I've seen working in Florida's prison system.
Yeah. No, I can only imagine,
being all
especially
like,
Florida, man. Like Florida's a whole different animal in those situations.
You
There's
got
a
Florida man in there doing
Florida
Florida
man in
man
there.
shit.
Yeah, seriously, fucking oh my God, surreal. But with that being said, that was actually like that's what I do these sessions for, really, is like learning those types of stories behind the songs. Like Last Favor, what the fuck is that about? Oh, it's about a guy that emptied his wrist onto the inside of a cell and almost died, but you know, he told us. And I'm like, whoa. And hopefully the audience is like, whoa.
Yeah, like that song, just like it's probably like the realest song on the EP.
Right,
When it comes to
right.
like traumatic
But
experiences.
yeah. But moving on to the last track for that of the My Suffering EP, which came out last year, 2021, and more specifically March 16th, 2021. So it's actually more than a year old now, which is crazy. But if it wasn't for me, featuring Orion Stevens, which I've never heard that name before, but I'm sure you'll fill me in on the details. And I'm sure
He's
there's a
the vocalist of In Dying Arms.
In Dying Arms. I haven't heard that band before, but
Really?
I will definitely check that band out. So, wrapping up the EP, the conclusion for this EP, if it wasn't for me, what do we got going on here under the skin of the
It's
EP?
basic. It's basically like almost like another story, like The Witch. You
Okay.
know, kind of like a love song. Yeah, I just felt like writing something like that. I would feel would be very actually like kind of sad to think about. Like if you had a significant other and like you guys are toxic, you guys
Oh, yeah.
like you guys aren't like meshing well, but you like love this person, and then like you tell this person like I'm gonna kill myself,
Yeah.
and they're like to get a reaction out of them, and you're next thing you know they end up killing themselves.
Oh,
The
yeah.
shit that you put them through and the shit that you're abusing them through.
Invoking. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, fuck.
Right.
That should be me. Like, I if if it wasn't for me, like, I said in the song, like if it wasn't for me, you'd still be alive or some shit like that.
Right.
Um,
Shit. And did that actually end up happening to you or?
no.
Okay.
No,
That's
I just like other like stories, I like
yeah.
what I really want to do is like, make like films almost. Like I wouldn't mind, partaking
Right.
with some stuff that I've seen. It's just money and time that I don't have to pursue that.
Right.
But
Right.
like, yeah, that's just like more or less like another thing that I enjoy doing is just trying to create stories and like, but at the same time,
Yeah.
like I remember I was writing this one story or song, if you will,
Right.
about drug addiction, and I've never been through it. I've seen it, but I've never been through it. I never like when I say I've seen it from afar. And
Yeah.
I didn't, want to write anything about that exactly like I did, but I didn't want to release it because it was more or less like I don't want people to be like, oh, you're just capitalizing on real problems that you don't know nothing about,
Yeah.
and you're trying to make a profit out of it. And then I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just trying to do what I do. Like, you're telling, I don't know, like you're telling me that like Infant Annihilator, for an example, they cover, at least like the first two albums, it's more or less like conspiracy theories of horrors that's happened within the Catholic Church.
Right.
And I believe that shit. So it's like they're making a profit off that. And they're making a profit
Yeah.
off people getting fucking crucified and
Raped and
put through
murdered.
all this shit for like no reason except for the name of God. And they're making
Yeah.
a profit out of it. What's the difference?
What's the difference? Exactly. And that's a very, very important way to approach people like that because that's all over the scene. And that will always be all over the scene. Just people are like, oh, you don't even know what this is like. Why are you writing about it? I'm like, because it's perspective. It's like, it's the difference between being the lion and being some white ass family on the outside of a zoo cage looking at the lion and just like, wow, that's a pretty big cat. And the lion's like, I don't even want to be here. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a different perspective. There's nothing wrong with it. But the moment that you're actually trying to make money and trying to make profit off of important topics for your own sake, that's
Yeah.
when the issue erupts. That's
Yeah.
when the issue conjures itself. Until that point, it's like, I'm just writing music. Like,
But like at the same time, like, you know, Steven Spielberg made Schindler's List, or no, that's based on a true story. Saving Private Ryan. Loosely, I mean, it's about a real event,
yeah,
but a made up story.
right.
So he made money off that. And there was people dying left and right in that movie, you know. And
Yeah. That was World War II, though. That was a massive thing. I guarantee you that there are still so many stories in World War II that have not been told yet, including what happened after it was over, but just not officially covered, not admitted by the federal government, like Operation Paperclip. That's a big one. And Silent Planet talks about that plenty. And that's why I have such a yeah. On the record When the End Began, there are a couple tracks that talk about Operation Paperclip, an empire running down our spine. It's like we brought the evil home, or we brought the enemy home, or something like that, because we brought over Nazi scientists from Germany to continue. And like, that's how LSD was made. That's how all that stuff was made. And they wrote about that. And I'm like, this is a Christian band. This is a Christian prog metal band talking about how we brought Nazis back home, which I didn't know about before I listened to that record. I'm like, wait a minute, what's Operation Paperclip? I looked it up. I looked into videos, and sure enough, it's there. You just have to look for it. And the feds will never admit to it, but it's there.
What's crazy is like one of the names of like NASA, something German, von Braun.
Yeah.
The fucking head NASA guy at the time. He was a head V2 rocket guy over there in Nazi Germany, using the Jewish slaves to help make, like, to fix his house up, you know, like do like regular stuff like that. And like when they fell out of line, he would like publicly hang them. And then we brought that guy over.
Yeah.
Like he knew
it's disgusting.
Yeah, he knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And then we viewed him as an American hero.
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely disgusting. So I mean, that's definitely important to bring awareness to, by all means. But ladies and gentlemen, that was the 4th episode of Under the Skin, where we dig under the skin of various records. We do track by track lyrical analysis, and I can only hope that because there are plenty of people out there in the music world who do the same thing, that we make it a little bit more entertaining. We tell some stories along the way and go into as much depth as possible. But Mr. Schedlbauer, thank you for jumping on Under the Skin, telling the story of your most recent EP. And if you want, at a different time, I am more than happy to dig under the skin of the first Divine Destruction EP. But otherwise, until then, be sure to enjoy your day, sir.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man.